Today we will be looking at multiplication. Now, a lot of you struggle with multiplication, so I'm going to go through some strategies and some processes, and if you still need to count out your times tables, that's fine, as long as you're not using a calculator and actually using these certain strategies to be able to get your answer. Let's look at our first question. So 346 times 25. So an important aspect of our maths lessons is attempt. Now, if you look at this question and go, oh my gosh, these numbers are quite large, all I want you to do is attempt a question. So to be able to get 1 mark for this question, which all of you I'm sure can do, is to set up this question in the correct format. This tells me that you actually know how to set it up and that you're actually able to show me that you know your times tables. So to set this up and to get 1 mark, we're going to write 346, and we're going to write our times sign here, and 25. Now with multiplication and attempting, you don't need to line them up in terms of place value. That's not a key skill that's required in terms of attempting a multiplication question. So by doing this, you can get 1 mark. Now, to further support you, what I'm actually going to get you to do for those who struggle. Now, if you're fine with this question, I'm happy for you to continue, but if you really struggle with these types of questions, I want you to look at our 2 bottom numbers here. With this question, you need to show me that you know your 5 times tables and that you know your 2 times tables. So what we're going to do on the bottom here is another strategy. So first we're going to write our 5s. So our multiples, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, just up to the 12s. And then we're going to do our 2s, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, and 24. Okay. So again, this is a really good way to reduce errors. Now sometimes, I wrote those out really quickly, but sometimes you might get a times table that you don't know very well, and you may need to count out each one. But by writing them in sequence, you're more able to reduce your errors because you can just keep adding along, rather than trying to keep track of how many times you've added when doing a whole sum. Alright, so let's do our first step. So what we're going to do with our first step, I'm just going to change colours. For our first step, we are going to multiply our 5s with each number. So 5 times 6. Now if you struggle with your 5 times tables, you can either go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 and do it that way. Or if you really struggle, then I want you to go this way. I want you to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are 30. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a 0 down here and we're going to carry our 3. Now we're going to say 5 times 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is 20 plus 3, because remember we've carried this 3. So 20, 21, 22, 23, carry the 2. So the 2 and the 3, 23. Now we say 5 times 3, 1, 2, 3 is 15 plus 2, so 15, 16, 17. And we're going to write the whole one because we don't have any other numbers to carry to. Now we're going to do our next step. Now, a common error is to just start and go with 2 times all of them. So what I want you to do to try and reduce errors is 1, I want you to cross out any of the numbers that you've used by doing your 5 times tables, and we're going to go on to the next step. So right here is we're not actually doing 2 times all of these numbers. We're saying 20 times 6, 20 times 4, 20 times 3. But to help us in that, because that's quite a large number and that's a lot of numbers that we're going to write down here, we're actually going to use a strategy, and that is to actually write the 0 here. So we take into account that it's a tens. Now all we have to do is do 2 times all of them, because we've taken into the account that it is a 20 that we're doing. So now we say 2 times 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is 12. Then say 2, carry the 1. Now this is why it's important to cross out these, because sometimes you can get sort of mistaken whether you actually carry the 3 or the 1, but if you've crossed it out, you know that we're only looking at the 1. If you need to use different colours, do so if that helps you. Now we're going to say 2 times 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 2 times 3 is 1, 2, 3 is 6. So we're going to write our 6 here. If you're able to do this correctly and you've carried correctly here, that's an extra mark. You might get stuck at this point and not realize what the next step is, but at least you've now got 2 marks. And for some of you, that can be enough to meet your independent numeracy goal. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add these 2 numbers. I'm going to just change colors, just quickly. Okay, so we're just, as you can see, we've lined them in place value, just like we did with our additions in the additions video. And now we're going to add starting in our lowest place value. So 0 plus 0 is 0. 3 plus 2 is 5. 7 plus 9. Now that can be quite hard for some people. And a strategy to use to reduce errors is to actually start with a bigger number and count up from that. So you can say 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And I carry my 1. 1 plus 6 is 7, plus 1 is 8. So getting the correct answer here is going to give you an extra mark there. So this is a 3-mark question. Now I've included a lot of strategies that you could use to reduce your errors. If at any point you look at these numbers and you look at them and they're quite difficult, all I want you to do is attempt. If you can set this up and you can tell me your multiples, you're still showing me that you actually know what your times tables are, and that is a skill in itself. Hope this video helped. Thanks.